Welcome to my channel, KC, that's me, Carrie Chug, the Sledge Storyteller, here to talk about the wonderful world of storytelling and open up discussion about how we can tell the best stories we can. So I'm not so focused on encouraging technique. I think that storytelling I talk about always warrants a closer look for ideas of how we can improve the stories we write. Now, like so many others, I love the Halloween season. And if I love the Halloween season, that means there are a lot of movies and specials that I'd like to take part in every Halloween. And some of them are not so well known. So that I'd go into depth on them, here are 5 of my favorite lesser known Halloween movies and specials. Starting with The Halloween That Almost Wasn't. So I gotta date myself a little bit. Going back to the late 70s, I remember looking at the Christmas catalog that always came a few months before Christmas, giving you plenty of time to figure out what you're gonna ask for. And I remember seeing that the Remco toy company had a lineup of Universal Studios classic horror monsters: Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman. And I couldn't stop looking at them. It was so cool too, and it was perfect timing for me to see this lineup the way they had that association. They're not always grouped together. And then this came around, Halloween That Almost Wasn't. Now, Judd Hirsch, I hadn't fully familiarized myself with him, and I wasn't going to recognize him in Dracula makeup. And I have to say that he makes a pretty cool looking Dracula. I mean, he does kind of look like a more humanized version of the Count on Sesame Street. And we have a nice dapper Frankenstein's monster who wants to normalize himself and shows it here by putting on a nice show of tap dancing. Wolfman looks like the Wolfman, and Mummy looks like the Mummy. And of course you've got the witch here. She's the only other recognizable name as far as the actor is concerned, with Mariette Hartley. This back in the 70s. And it's all about the witch really wanting to normalize herself to the chagrin of Dracula. And because she doesn't want to do the Halloween tradition of taking her broom in flight across the moonlight, that is so important to the Halloween season that it threatens to end the Halloween season. Dracula doesn't want to see that to happen, so it's all a battle between him and the witch, and that's all fun, good comedy, fun storyline, and it's also fun to see this family interact, talk about some of the cool factors of Halloween history, touching upon some key things that may strike your curiosity and get you to learn more about it. But beyond the history lesson, it's a lot of fun. I think it's a good showcase of these horror characters that we've all become so familiar with, and I highly recommend it. I see that it's available on YouTube. I don't know if it's legal, but I recommend you check it out. It's a lot of fun if you don't mind a little tongue-in-cheek comedy. It kind of was made for kids, so you gotta kind of tap into your inner child to really enjoy it. But I do recommend it. Next, Mummy Daddy. So I touched upon this when it came to Christmas shows last Christmas season. So Mummy Daddy, this came out in the Amazing Stories series. It was kind of Spielberg's 80s version of the Twilight Zone. A lot of just fun stories, sometimes comedic, like in this case. Not to say that all these Halloween shows are comedic. There'll be a few that are a little bit more serious. But here, an actor who plays a mummy, he's in the middle of production, and he finds out that his wife is about to deliver their baby nearby. And it also surfaces during production to find out that there's a legend in the town they were in, that there was a real live mummy who was wreaking havoc in the past. And so this mummy actor, in trying to make his way to the hospital to go see his wife and newborn, has to run into the people of the village, and so to speak, and because they were so scared over the mummy that had terrorized that area before, all of a sudden it became a witch hunt for them to take down the mummy out of fear that he would be causing that problem. And once you know it, that same mummy also surfaces. So it's a lot of fun. It's good comedy. It's got good macabre comedy to it. A few recognizable people if you're really into spotting who's. If you do that, there are going to be a bunch of people that you're going to pick up on. But do watch it. Get some laughs, have some Halloween fun with it. Now I'm taking some liberties to combine a couple, because I think they're so intertwined with what they were meant to be. So here is a different type of Dracula movie starring Christopher Lee after so many other Dracula movies. This one is a little bit more pure to the original Dracula novel, as is this other one that was made by BBC in Britain, where Dracula is played by Louis Jourdan. I'm sure you'd recognize him. He's been in a bunch of other things. If you watch this, and I would always wanted to see something that's a little bit more pure with the story of Dracula as written by Bram Stoker. I really wasn't feeling that with Bram Stoker's Dracula done by Francis Ford Coppola. And I know a lot of people like that, and that's all cool. You like what you like. I remember being so disappointed. I really love the whole imagery of Dracula, the way he's described in the novel. And I wanted to see all black, and I wanted to see gradual de-aging as the story goes. And of course, I have to concede that doesn't happen in the Louis Jourdan Dracula movie, but it stays true to the spirit. Pretty much all the events happen as they're supposed to. Few very minor liberties are taken, but they're very sinister. They don't play gentleman Dracula, and when you read Bram Stoker's Dracula, he really wasn't supposed to be the gentleman type anyway, though that does work. And my favorite gentleman Dracula is by far Frank Langella. But the only thing that doesn't make it so pure when it comes to this Christopher Lee Dracula movie, called Count Dracula, made by Italians, is how he's killed at the end. There's no stake driven through his heart. But I could just imagine these splicing together to become the perfect Dracula movie, endearing, playing the story very well, and using wonderful imagery to haunt us and to give us that feel of what makes the Dracula story so endearing and so compelling. But I recommend that you give them both a try. They're fabulous. Next up, The Haunted House with Mickey Mouse. So here, this is very early Mickey Mouse, 1929. Mickey, he's out there in the torrential rain, needs to find shelter, and what other choices does he have to try this house, which looks pretty creepy. Comes inside, and it lives up to its image inside as it did outside, with this big phantom coming out and looking all freaky. But all he wants Mickey to do is play the piano. And the ensuing action after that is a nice frolic by the phantom and some skeletons. All fun to hear the music being played, and keeps going. And it's not all one type of sequence, just different types over time. Just gotta let one thing come after another. And in the end, Mickey, it's not worth it to be in this kind of shelter, even if he doesn't have many options. Fortunately, when he's running out, you see that the rain has stopped, and off he goes into the moonset, so to speak, instead of the sunset. But give it a try. All Disney stuff going back has its own nostalgia factor. Lots of fun. Give it a try. Finally, same studio, and this was actually the same year, 1929, as the haunted house. The skeleton dance, and been another thing where there's nostalgia. There was a time back in my trick-or-treating days where when we were all done, my parents would drive me and my brothers to this one house of a friend to the family. He had a very large house. He was very generous to have people at his party, and it was so big that there was always something to do in about every level, which there were several. And I always liked to go down to the basement where there was this big TV, and it would always be playing the Disney Channel, and they would have their string of whatever Halloween cartoons, the haunted house. But my favorite was always the skeleton dance, and it's got its own hijinks there. There's no real plot to it, but the moves are lots of fun. And looking at this as the early days of animation, I mean, that they had come up with a lot and come up with a lot of great stuff, a lot of great sequences. I mean, how long did it take for them to figure out something like this or like this? And I don't doubt that they also figured out how to recycle sequence to make it look that way. And that was a precursor to cartoon stock footage. But I love the moves here. I love the whole how funny it gets, and just the whole hijinks all together makes it so fun. And love the music to it. Halloween's just not Halloween without it. And I always have to have it at least 3 times. Always, maybe it's a weekly thing because it's just so much fun. Everybody check it out. So those are my 5 forgotten favorites of Halloween. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe or follow me on Instagram. And as always, the link to order Sledge number 1 is below there. My artist showed me what he has done as far as doing preliminary sketches of the last page as well as the cover, and it was very exciting to see what he had figured out. I can't wait to see what it turns out to be for our final product, and it has to be lettered, and then I have to format it to proper size. So that's what's ahead, and publishing always takes a few weeks to finalize once I've submitted everything. So I'll get that done as quickly as I can because I'm as excited as can be to finally get it out. And I'll always say it, it's a real horror story going on out there, the pandemic. Let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's wear our masks in public. We still see people coming down with this. People are dying. And so I just ask everybody, take those precautions, and unless you have some, underlying thing that could give you adverse effects, please get the vaccine. But that's all for today, and everyone be safe, and God bless.